let's turn back to the Beauty Queen murder trial. The jury has heard all of the evidence in this case. Keep in mind, we're playing this. This played out during the Johnny Depp trial. We had our cameras there, and now we are replaying it because it is fascinating. And the verdict, which we're going to hear in about an hour or two, is also surprising. The case included testimony from the defendant. That's him, Ryan Duke. Both sides are getting one last chance here. We're playing the closing arguments this morning to plead their case before the jury decides the fate of Ryan Duke and potentially closes the door on this decades-long mystery. The defense team began their closing arguments first with attorney John Merchant pointing the finger not at his client Ryan, but at his buddy Bo Dukes.
Bo Dukes should be sitting in that chair, not Ryan. Bo Dukes should be on trial for the murder of Tara Grinstead, not Ryan. Where was Bo Dukes in this trial? Why did the state not bring him? Why did we have to call Bo Dukes? Why did Bo Dukes not answer our questions? Be thinking about this as we talk about this case, because there's an important theme here. Ryan took the stand and sat in that chair and told you what he knew. He told you what happened. He didn't have to do that. He could have remained silent and sat over there this entire trial and not told you his story. And you saw him sit there and tell you that story from his own mouth, with his own words, with his own emotion, and you saw how it affected him when he talked. Don't forget that when the state gets up here and tries to tell you that he's a liar. You saw him. You can tell whether he's telling the truth from that chair or not. Keep that in mind as we go through the evidence in the case, because I think it's very important when we talk about his statement that he gave to the police, which you all have heard a lot about. There are a whole bunch of inconsistencies in that thing. And what did the witness yesterday, Mr. Posey, tell us? It was all over the place. Why was it all over the place? Because he wasn't there. He has no idea what the facts are surrounding her death because he was not there. He told you who was there. Bo Dukes woke him up and said, I killed Tara. Not, I killed Miss Grinstead. I killed Tara. Bo Dukes had her as, Bo Dukes was one of her students. Ryan was not. Bo Dukes left that trailer that night with Ben McMahon in a black truck at around 10 o'clock at night. Ryan was passed out on the floor. You heard from Jerry, famous Jerry now, I assume, picked him up by the belt and dropped him on the floor to make sure he was alive. And he groaned, and that's the last time anybody saw Ryan that night, passed out on the bathroom floor. Well, what does that mean? From a timing standpoint, it means a lot, because it means Bo Dukes was not in that trailer on Saturday night. Ryan was. And Tara Grinstead, as we'll see, left her house that night. And where did she go? These are all questions that the state could have answered for you, and they didn't. I want to talk to you about what the state did in the presentation of its case and why it's important. There are close to 300 exhibits in this case. Photographs, other kinds of documents. There were 35 witnesses they brought to you. As you're going through all that, and I'm sure the state's going to stand up and talk about the volume of evidence in this case. It's not about the volume of evidence. It's about the quality of the evidence. And you heard a GBI agent, Gary Rothwell, tell you the larger the file, the less you know. That's exactly what's happening here. They're not going to tell you that, but they hid Bo Dukes, they hid her best friend, they hid other stuff in this mass of evidence that they're going to say is all relevant. If you focus in on the details, which we heard yesterday, the details matter in terms of inconsistencies in evidence, you're going to find there's very little here. And there's nothing that links Ryan to this murder at all. Nothing. And so you need to, as a juror, hold the state accountable for trying to hide information and evidence from you in this volume of stuff. Don't make the same mistake that GBI made in 2005 by chasing all these leads that had nothing to do with the case. They missed stuff that was obvious in 2005, and they missed stuff that was obvious in 2017 because they made an assumption after nearly 12 years of searching for Tara Grinstead that they had their man. As soon as Ryan Duke walked into that interview room, they had an answer, and they were going to close this case. They were anxious for closure of this case, and they were blinded by it, and they refused to look at the details. Agent Shadell told you that when Ryan gave the statement, that's it. He didn't go and look into the case file to see if it was actually consistent with case evidence. And we're going to get into that in a second. He accepted everything, even though there were unresolved inconsistencies in Ryan's statement, which we heard about yesterday from Agent Posey, that they can't explain. Again, the reason why the statement is so important to the state is there's no physical evidence linking Ryan to the alleged crime scene. And the information that Ryan gave in the interview was fed to him by Agent Shadell. So if we look at the case evidence, and we do that with an assumption that the house is not the crime scene, the state wants you to assume that. If we don't assume it, and we look at what's actually inside the house, and when we look at it, and we look at the car, and we look at the timeline, it doesn't add up, and that's reasonable doubt. So we know that Bo Dukes and Ben McMahon left the trailer at 10 o'clock on Saturday night. What do we know about Tara Grinstead? We know that she went to the pageant, she had her cell phone with her all day, and that she, after the pageant, went to see a friend, and then went to a cookout at Troy Davis's house, and made several calls while she was there. She leaves Troy Davis's house around 11 o'clock to go home. She says she's going home. After that, we have no idea what she did.
All right, that's a portion of the close from the defense. We'll play more of it throughout this hour. Then we'll hear from the state. Michelle Thomas is with us. She is a trial lawyer in Silver Spring, Maryland. And Michelle, this idea of a false confession, the jury saw two versions of Ryan Duke. First, they saw the police interview where he seemed very happy to get this off of his chest, saying, I know I'm going to prison, I did it, here's what happened. And then at trial, I wasn't there, I was drunk on tequila. How difficult is it for jurors, and a lot of us know the result of this trial, which we're going to play at 11 o'clock, but this is usually a Hail Mary, is it not, to say, forget the confession, this is what really happened.
Yeah, good morning, Ted. I think it's really hard for this jury to reconcile that clear, concise confession made previously versus his testimony today or at the present trial. And so what his lawyers are trying to do, and they're doing pretty convincingly, is show that there was a motive, that he was essentially being coerced and compelled to give that admission of guilt, and that it wasn't really the truth. And he's identifying all of the inconsistencies in the stories and trying to confuse the jury. But I think that's the end result for this jury, is that they're going to be quite confused as to how they reconcile the previous confession versus the testimony they're hearing today. It is hard to bridge the two, because why would you confess to a murder if you had nothing to do with it or if it was not true?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem to make sense. But then you listen to Ryan Duke, he builds this idea that Bo Dukes is this not only a bully, but someone who has control over him. And over time on the stand, even through cross-examination, he seemed to never break character. And we've seen this repeatedly. People can save themselves at trial if they get up, take the stand, and come across as being believable. And to some extent, I think it's an easy argument to say he pulled it off.
Yeah, that's one advantage that he does have. I do think that he probably was able to connect with the jury. He did seem authentic in his testimony. He did seem believable and pretty credible. But then you have to still tie that to the fact that he is now saying that he lied previously to the authorities. And so it's really still a tough hurdle to have to overcome. But I do think he came across as authentic, sincere, and believable throughout pretty much the entire time that he was on the stand.
Yeah, and the time really helped him. The elapsed time between when Tara Grinstead went missing until the Dukes were involved in the investigation, I think was a real problem, I would assume, for jurors, because they weren't suspects out of the gate. Coming up, defense attorney John Merchant starts walking the jury through the evidence and the lack of it, and why he says that this glove is problematic to the state's case. They argue otherwise. That's next.
2513.
Welcome Welcome back. Our coverage of the beauty queen murder trial out of Georgia is winding down as the prosecution and the defense teams get one last chance to present their arguments to the jury. Tara Grinstead's disappearance baffled police. The case was cold for many years before a podcast was able to renew interest in the case, ultimately leading to the arrest of Ryan Duke. But the lack of evidence would continue to be problematic. Defense attorney John Merchant walked the jury through the state's evidence during closing arguments, including that infamous latex glove.
So we've heard several witnesses, GBI witnesses, come, and even folks who went into the house Monday morning, come and tell you that they recognized that there was no sign of a struggle inside the house. None. There was some talk about a lampshade, a candle tipped over on its side, and a cloth that was sitting upright on the floor. Those are the three things that, plus there was a stain on the comforter, a blood stain on the comforter. That's it. There's nothing else. If you go back and review the testimony in your notes from Agent Rossler, who was the crime scene tech who processed the scene, he found no fingerprints anywhere inside the house. He found no fingerprints on the door jamb linking Ryan to the house. He found nothing in terms of fingerprints linking Ryan to the car or any other back door, any of that sort of thing. Nothing linking him fingerprint-wise to inside the house. Well, why is that important? Well, if you believe Ryan's statement to the GBI in February of 2017, he said didn't he wear gloves when he went in initially. So that means he grabbed the doorknob and shut it. So he grabbed both doorknobs and shut it and didn't leave a fingerprint. That doesn't make common sense. If he had not used gloves, his fingerprints would be on the door. They'd be on the door casing. So use your common sense. I think Agent Rothwell told us that they put a light bulb back in the lamp and it worked. So there was nothing unusual about the lamp itself. And of course, the house had been full of girls getting ready for a pageant. You can see from the pictures, and you will see from the pictures, and some that you've already seen, there were clothes everywhere, all this sort of stuff. I mean, it looked consistent with girls getting ready for a pageant. The drawers. There was talk of this drawer. The state suggested that these drawers were opened as if somebody had gone inside there looking for stuff to steal. Well, so that's the drawer that's open on the top. Use your common sense. Doesn't that look like it just hasn't been pushed shut because the clothes are in the drawer? This is Exhibit 30. This is the other one they say the drawer was open as if to show it was evidence of some sort of theft. Use your common sense. It's a clothing drawer, and it's halfway out. The girls were getting ready for a pageant. What is the most likely reason that drawer is open, based on your common sense? So the bed. Let's talk about the bed. There was all this talk about the bed, the comforter being all in disarray, and that was somehow suggestive that Miss Grinstead had been sleeping that night, Saturday night, when Ryan came in, supposedly. Well, let's look at that. So we haven't talked about this before, and I don't know that we ever asked a single witness this question, but the one thing you see on that bed are throw pillows. Why are there throw pillows on a bed she was sleeping in? You need to ask yourself a common sense question, but wouldn't she have taken the throw pillows off the bed if she was in the bed sleeping? That's just one of those common sense things. If you look at the photograph and you don't assume that there's a crime scene here, it makes perfect sense to you. But the comforter itself, we heard from Dina that they had flipped that over before the people got there to photograph it. So the fact that the comforter itself is not made, so to speak, is a function of people being in there before law enforcement got there and they flipped it over. And to their credit, they didn't know they were in a crime scene or think they were in a crime scene. They were trying to figure out what happened to her. To their credit, they were just trying to figure out what happened. If Ryan's statement to the GBI is true, that he struck a fatal blow to Tara Grinstead with one punch, and the state wants to suggest that this blood is the result of that, use your common sense. If that blow was significant enough to cause her death and to cause her to bleed, would that bed not be full of blood? Or would there not be blood on the floor? And would there not be evidence that somebody had tried to clean it up? Your common sense tells you that stain on that comforter is either from a monthly cycle or from sex itself. So let's talk more about the glove. This is the state's smoking gun, right? The glove. Well, what do we know about that glove? We know the state hasn't brought a single witness to tell you that it was on the ground before Monday morning. Not one. They don't have a single person that came in here and told you that that glove was on the ground before Monday morning. We brought you some folks to tell you that on Sunday they didn't see it. Jared Luke walked to her front door Sunday evening to get a water bowl for the dog and to get the food. He said he walked up to the front door, he parked in the driveway, and then he walked up to the front door in a diagonal across the yard is what he said. He missed it. If it's on the ground at 9:30 in the morning on Sunday, and he goes there at 6 o'clock to deal with his dog's things, and he walks directly to the front door, and then back, he's missed it twice. And he said that was during daylight hours. So two people now have missed this glove twice in broad daylight. That does not make common sense. So Heath Dykes, when he doesn't hear from Ms. Grinstead, starts to get very concerned. And you saw the phone calls and all of that. He's a captain in the police department. He lives an hour and 20 minutes away. He drives, he's so concerned, he drives all the way to Osceola to check on her. When he gets here, he's in, I would be fair to classify it as panic mode, because it's not like her to not call him back. He's trained in scene investigations. And what did he tell you he saw at midnight on Sunday? He did not see a glove. He was looking for things that might be out of the ordinary to figure out what was going on. He's searching the outside of the house. He's looking in windows. He's walking around. He walked around to the carport. He sat here and he told you, he said, I didn't see a glove, and I would have seen a glove if it was there. That was his testimony. What's the only conclusion you could draw from that? That glove was not on the ground. It was not on the ground at midnight into Monday morning. How does that line up with the state's theory of the case? They haven't brought you a single person that's going to dispute that. All they're going to say is that glove was on the ground Monday morning. What does that tell us? And it's in plain sight. Let's call a spade here. You couldn't miss that glove. You've seen the photographs of it. You're going to have a chance to look at it when you guys go back to the jury room. Look, it's within 2 feet of the stones that go up to her front porch, and it's like within 5 feet of the front porch itself. Everybody saw it. Wouldn't Heath Dykes, even if it's dark, be able to see that whitish colored glove right off the stone pathway? Use your common sense. There's only one explanation for that glove. And we got testimony from the GBI agent Ashley Hinkle about that. If you may remember, Mr. Gibbs asked her a couple questions about process. And that process involved trying to get Bo Duke's DNA off that glove. They tried and tried and tried to exclude him as a contributor to that glove. And they couldn't do it. They excluded dozens of other folks. They tested everybody. And they were all excluded. They could not exclude Bo Dukes from the glove.
All right, that's a portion of the defense closing arguments, and we're going to hear a little bit more of that, and then the state will have their opportunity to address this jury before the jury goes and contemplates the fate of Ryan Duke. Michelle Thomas is still with us in Silver Spring, Maryland, and Michelle, the glove you know, the state thinks this is great. The glove's got his DNA on it. He's already confessed. The glove is big for the state of Georgia, yet the defense doing a pretty good job of switching that around and flipping it. But they're asking the jury, again, to make this leap.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the issue of the glove is critical, and the defense has quite frankly cast doubt, which is what they're required to do, as to whether the glove was actually there that particular night of the crime. And so, to the extent that they can simply raise doubt in the jurors' minds that that maybe it was planted there, or that it was somehow part of this setup, that's all that they have to do in order to attempt to get this acquittal. So. It is a problem that there's multiple witnesses that say that it was not there at the time, right, that particular night.
The big question here is, was this a false confession? If you believe it was a false confession, you're going to believe Ryan Duke's testimony. Let's bring in psychiatrist and forensic specialist Yelda Safai. She's in New York City. And Yelda, is this real, this idea of, I mean, who would go in and confess to a crime that they didn't commit?
Well, sometimes this happens. Sometimes people are convinced through what we call implanting an idea in somebody's head that, oh, you did in fact committed the crime without, realizing you did. And that person starts to believe this. And as time goes by, that belief starts to get stronger and stronger. So we've actually seen this a lot. When you implant an idea in somebody's head that they've done something, they end up convincing themselves that they actually have, and they end up confessing to a crime that they didn't commit.
Is this like a form of gaslighting?
You could say that, yeah.
And this was brought up by the defense that, and Ryan Duke talked about shortly after he helped Bo Dukes take care of the body, that Bo Dukes started spreading the word that, hey, Ryan killed Tara Grinstead. Did you know that? And that process went on for years, so maybe that's exactly what happened here. We'll have to see what the jury believes. Coming up, defense attorney Ashley Merchant gets her chance to talk to the jury, and she reminds them that a confession alone is not enough for a conviction. That's next.
I'm Julia Janae in Orlando, Florida for the kitchen knife murder case, and this is Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Welcome back. Much of the state's case in the Beauty Queen murder trial centers around a confession that the defendant made to police. Ryan Duke told police he killed Tara Grinstead back in 2015 after a robbery went wrong. Then he got up on the stand and said, nah, it was all a false confession. This morning, we're going through the closing arguments. Here is Ashley Merchant. She's Duke's attorney.
The jury charges talk about corroboration, okay? This is a legal term, so I want to kind of talk about it, but it's a common sense term too. I mean, everybody knows what corroboration means. The charge that you're going to hear is that an out-of-court statement, so Ryan's statement to Agent Shadell is an out-of-court statement. If that out-of-court statement is not supported by any other evidence, it is not sufficient to justify a conviction, even if you believe the unsupported statement. Why is that important? If you believe that what Ryan told Agent Shadell, if you believe that, that's not enough. They have to present evidence to every element of this crime to corroborate that statement. They have to bring you evidence. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the cause of death. They have to prove how Miss Grinstead died. Outside of his statement, they have to prove where Miss Grinstead died. They have to prove she died in Irwin County. And they have to prove that she died from a single blow, a punch, a hit from Ryan. When you listen, and I'm sure when the state gets up there, they're going to play Ryan's statement. I would imagine that that's what they're going to play. And they may play just excerpts of it. I doubt they'll play the entire thing for you. I'm sure they will play excerpts. I want you to remember that they are picking and choosing what you hear out of that statement. They're picking and choosing what they believe is true out of that statement. They're not playing for you what Ryan told you here in court under oath. They're not playing for you what he told you when he could testify truthfully and honestly without fear of Bo Dukes. He told you why was he not able to tell this before? Because he was scared. And we asked every single one of you in jury selection if you believed that a person would lie to protect their family. And everybody agreed. We asked the agents that. We asked both agents who talked to you about interviews if they were trained that people would lie to protect their family, and they both told you yes. Agent Shadell told you yes, and Agent Posey told you yes. That is in their training. Ryan told you that he lied to protect his family from a person that walked in this courtroom in shackles and wouldn't even admit what his name was. So finally, why can Ryan come in and tell you the truth? Bo is in prison. Ryan told you that. Bo is finally in prison. Ryan can finally, and you saw it. You saw what he's been holding in all these years. He's been keeping Bo's secret for almost 2 decades. You saw that on his face. And so the state's gonna play what they want you to believe, a statement that was given when Bo was on the loose, a statement that was given when Ryan was scared, when Ryan had taken drugs, when Ryan had been suffering from anxiety, depression, all of these issues for all these years. They're gonna pick and choose. What is that? Smoke and mirrors. That is trying to divert you from what you heard on this witness stand. One of the other things, sorry. One of the other things, and it's not exciting, but one of the other things that the state has to prove is what's called venue, okay? Another term, but common sense. He's gonna read you the charges. Venue is in the county where the state proved, beyond a reasonable doubt, the cause of death was inflicted. If the cause of death can't be determined, venue is where the state proved the dead body is discovered. We asked every witness that was qualified to answer this what the cause of death was. There is no testimony as to what the cause of death is in this case. Not one single bit of evidence. Not one statement. The experts that they brought said, we cannot determine the cause of death. And again, it's not a fun topic to talk about, but the law requires that the cause of death be committed in Irwin County, and it requires that they prove the cause of death. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that the law requires that. We do not want to send innocent people to prison. They charged malice murder is the first count. What do they have to prove? They have to prove malice, and I'm sure the state's going to talk to you a lot about malice, but malice in this case isn't really, I'm not going to spend any time talking about it because it's just not relevant. There was no evidence of malice. But what else do they have to prove? They have to prove that Ryan caused her death in the manner that they said he did, by using his hand. They have to prove that. For felony murder, the second 2 counts, 2 and 3, they also have to prove that he caused Miss Grinstead's death. They have to prove that he caused her death while burglarizing her home and while he was assaulting her with his hand. They have to prove that she died in that manner. That is cause of death. For those counts, the first 3, the murder counts, and I'm lumping them together again, the malice murder and the felonies, beyond a reasonable doubt, they have to prove the cause of death. They have to prove Irwin County, and they have to prove by the hand. And I'm going to talk about some elements that you can consider, because I believe the state will argue to you that a hand can be considered a deadly weapon. Okay. Well, what does the law say about that? The law says, and you're going to hear these. The judge is going to read them to you. The factors to be considered: the nature and the extent of any injury inflicted. We heard no testimony about any injury inflicted. The character or capabilities of the weapon. Is it possible to die from a single hit with a hand? And we're not even getting there because Ryan did not hit Miss Grinstead. But looking at the state's case, that's what they're going to argue. The manner that the hand was used. Any other circumstances of the case. The other counts are the aggravated assault and the burglary. I talked about the aggravated assault enough. It's whether or not he committed a crime and rendered serious bodily injury. So there'd have to be some testimony that Ms. Grinstead suffered a serious bodily injury in Irwin County, in her home, by Ryan. The burglary, same thing, Irwin County, in her home, that he broke into her house with the intent to commit a theft. And John talked to y'all about the locks. Y'all have this picture back there. It's pretty clear. You can see it right there. You'll have it back there, so feel free to take it with you and look at it. The last count is concealing the death. What are the elements of that crime? That Ryan concealed Ms. Grinstead's death, that he hindered the discovery of whether or not she was killed in Irwin County. We are not here to determine if he assisted in burning Ms. Grinstead, in cremating her in Ben Hill County. We are here to determine whether or not he assisted in concealing her death in Irwin County.
Coming up, Ryan Duke prepares to give the jury his case. The final words from the defense next.
Kill my son.
Welcome back. Quick programming note. Court TV's Chanley Painter will be sitting down today one-on-one with Johnny Depp's attorney Ben Chew. That interview going on in New York late this morning. We'll have excerpts from it throughout the day and the entire interview tonight, 8 o'clock on closing arguments. Back to the Beauty Queen murder trial. Let's finish up with the defense closing arguments.
I anticipate they're going to argue that this 411 call was guilty knowledge. Ryan told you he called Ms. Grinstead's house that Sunday morning. He told you why. He told you he was trying to return her purse. That phone call is not evidence that he killed Ms. Grinstead. It's not. Under any common sense, reasonable theory, that phone call is not corroboration that he killed Ms. Grinstead and she died in her home as the result of a hit in Irwin County. It's not. It doesn't corroborate that. It's not guilty knowledge of anything. It's not corroboration for the crimes that he is charged. It's the smoke and mirrors. It's this illusion that there's evidence. It's this illusion that there's corroboration when there is none. Same thing with this glove. I'm not going to belabor it. I know Mr. Merchant, John, talked about this a lot. We had 3 witnesses that were outside Ms. Grinstead's home on Sunday. 3. None of them saw the glove. The glove does not corroborate murder. The glove does not corroborate aggravated assault. The glove does not corroborate any charge in this indictment. There is no conflict in the evidence. So we talked about reasonable doubt and how you could consider conflicts in the evidence or lack of evidence. On this glove, there is 0 conflict. You don't have to resolve it. It's clear. Every single witness that came in here and took the stand said the glove was not here on Sunday. There is no evidence that it was there on Sunday. No evidence that it did not appear until Monday morning. Any argument to the contrary is trying to get you to not look at the actual evidence in the case. We had witnesses in our rebuttal, and we had some during direct, about good character. The judge is going to tell you that in Georgia, the good character of a defendant is a defense in a crime. There were witnesses that took this stand that said Ryan is a peaceful, kind, and caring person. Not one single person testified to the contrary. Not one. The state has to disprove that good character, that peaceful character, beyond a reasonable doubt. They have not brought one single person to disprove Ryan's peaceful character. And you heard from members of your own community. You heard from great members of your community that Ryan is a peaceful and kind person. Ryan did something awful, and he admitted that to you on the stand. He has lived with that guilt for almost 2 decades. He did not kill Tara Grinstead. He did not break into her house. He did not assault her. He is not the cause of Miss Grinstead's death. And he did nothing to contribute to her death. He's not guilty of every single count in this indictment. We're here to ask you to seek the truth and seek justice for everyone in this case. And that would be a verdict of not guilty. I started this trial off talking about power. Ryan told you he felt powerless all those years. The state has had the power to bring you evidence, to bring you proof, and they have failed to do that. You now have the power to do the right thing. You now have the power to say, that's not enough. You did not prove this case. Ryan did not do this. He did not kill Miss Grinstead. We all know who killed Miss Grinstead. Ryan told you who killed Miss Grinstead. The person who killed Miss Grinstead came in here and pled the fifth to his name. Ryan got up here and withstood cross-examination and let you in all of his stuff. I mean, just, you know, things about he was depressed, things that nobody should have to get up here and testify in the public to. But he told you that. And at the end of the day, you now have the power. You have the power to make the decision in this case. And we trust you and think that you will find Ryan not guilty. And that's how we ask that you submit your verdict on that form. Thank you.
All right, the end of the close on behalf of Ryan Dukes, still with us, psychiatrist and forensic specialist in New York City, Dr. Yalda Safai, and Michelle Thomas is still with us in Silver Spring, Maryland. All right, so Doctor, when we're talking about the mentality now of jurors, they watched Ryan Duke take the stand. He's very placid, very mild-mannered. Is there something in the human condition that wants the person accused of a brutal murder to be that guy in our heads and we're worried that that's reasonable doubt that it isn't that person? Is that part of a jury's overall decision making? Is the feel they get from the defendant?
Of course, we want as a jury for the person who's, we're saying, committed to the crime, for its personality to fit. If they see a well-mannered, likable person who's well-liked in the community, it seems very soft on the stand, this is going to be very hard for the jury to commit this person, to say this person committed the crime, because they're in their minds, they want to say the person we're going to send to jail for like 20, 30 years needs to be a bad person. And this person they're seeing on the stand just doesn't fit their criteria. So this is going to be very difficult for the jury to make a decision.
Michelle, sometimes not having that other person that you're blaming the crime on with you in court, Bo Dukes, he didn't testify, took the fifth, and he wasn't sitting at the defense table. That helps because now the jury can conjure up this other person in their own mind, in their own way. Do you think that was an advantage at the end of the day, not having Bo Dukes there and just being able to talk about him?
Yeah, I think so, because Bo Dukes then wasn't able to contradict any of the testimony that was provided by Ryan Duke. He wasn't able to fill in the gaps or the holes or to make his theory of the case make sense. That is that Ryan Dukes is the one that killed the victim here. And so, yeah, I think it was an advantage. And then when you have someone who pleads the fifth to his name, that then further undermines that person's credibility sometimes in the jurors' minds, and then further credits the testimony of Ryan Dukes. So I do think it was an advantage in this particular case.
Yeah, and we're going to play the other side, the prosecution's closing argument, and then we're going to have the verdict. We know the verdict. Don't look it up. We'll show it to you coming up in the next hour. It's a bit surprising, I'll tell you that, and we'll have a reaction to the verdict as well from Osceola. We want to thank Dr. Yalda Safai and Michelle Thomas for their valuable time this morning. Really appreciate it on this Wednesday. We're going to take a break. Coming up, the state gets the last word in the Ryan Duke trial. Their closing argument is next. What are they going to say about his confession, then denial? That's next. This is Court TV, your front row seat to justice. Stay with us.
Ryan Duke, the man in that chair, confessed. And the truth is, exactly what came out of his mouth is he hit Tara Grinstead in her home and he left.
Prosecutors tell jurors to focus on Ryan Duke's confession and his admission to killing Tara Grinstead, not his testimony when he denied it. Plus,
their theory, Bo Dukes, he knew to plant that glove so we could get some touch DNA off of it, when we didn't even know we could get DNA in 2005. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
The state attacks the defense latex glove theory as they deliver the last word to the jury before the surprising verdict. The state's closing argument, plus a preview of our next live trial, is all next on Court TV Live. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rollins. Glad to have you along with us. Busy day here at Court TV as we cover major developments and two big trials that we're covering in Florida. Jury selection is going on as we speak and is expected to wrap up this morning in the kitchen knife murder trial. This will pave the way for opening statements to begin this afternoon. That's the plan for the court, at least for now. Court TV, our cameras are already in place, ready to roll. We're going to bring you this trial live. The defendant, Danielle Redlick, is accused of stabbing her husband, who used to be her stepfather, to death. She's going to take the stand. It's going to be fascinating. And in Georgia, we're bringing you the final moments of the beauty queen murder trial. Ryan Duke, accused of murdering former pageant beauty queen and high school teacher Tara Grinstead back in 2005. The jury heard 8 days of testimony, including from the defendant himself, before coming back with a verdict. And it's a little bit shocking for those of you who have been watching this, who don't know. Those that do know, still gonna wanna watch it because it's crazy. And we just heard the closing arguments from the defense last hour. Now, it's time to hear the last word. The last word on behalf of the state of Georgia going after Ryan Duke. Let's listen in.
Ryan Duke, the man in that chair, confessed to the murder of Tara Grinstead. He confessed with the words of his own mouth, the words expressed from his own thoughts. He convicts himself by his own words. The man in that chair, Ryan Duke, confessed to you with his words. He confessed to you in his handwriting. He confessed to you with his actions. His actions as he walked through an orchard in Fitzgerald. He confesses through his words, through his writing, and his actions. He confesses to you through his DNA. He confesses to you with his palm prints that he is the murderer, the killer of Tara Grinstead. The monster he doesn't want to be. The monster he hides from everyone. He confesses to you. You've all heard it. 34 ears. You heard it. 34 eyes. You saw it. He confesses to you that he murdered Tara Grinstead.
It is Wednesday, February the 22nd, 2017, at approximately 12:52 a.m., located at the Osceola Police Department. Interview with Ryan Duke, pursuant to the current investigation. You didn't ask me yesterday, and I guess we can get around to it, but do you have any idea why I've asked you to come down here today? I have a pretty good idea. This is Grinstead. Okay. And I'm going to be taking notes as we're dialoguing back and forth. Don't think I'm ignoring you. Remember, we are just audio recording it, so anything you say, if it's a yes or no. Yes, sir, I understand. Okay. What makes you think it's about Tara? I was involved with it, ma'am. Okay.
into people's houses just to steal money. I was a drug addict. I've been drinking. I was high. I don't remember everything clearly.
Now, Ms. Merchant and I disagree on what I have to prove. You will not hear the judge charge you in the way that she said that. The judge will charge you on the law. Ms. Merchant is not the giver of the law. The court will give you the law. This defendant told you what he did. The state has the burden of proof in this case. It is beyond a reasonable doubt. The judge will charge you on beyond a reasonable doubt. That does not mean beyond all doubt. It's not what it means. The charge will tell you that. It does not mean to a mathematical certainty. You don't have to put a percentage on it. That's not what it means. It's not, as you've heard sometimes, beyond a shadow of any doubt. That's not what it means. It is the doubt of a fair-minded, impartial juror honestly seeking the truth. That's what we ask you to do. You all said you could be fair and impartial during jury selection. You could set aside all the media talk and conspiracy theories and listen to the evidence in the courtroom. That's what you said you could do. Took an oath to do. And seek the truth. You're truth seekers today. That's what the state asks you to do, is seek truth. They want you to list questions and look for doubt. I want you to seek the truth. Be truth seekers. And the truth is exactly what came out of his mouth is he hit Tara Grinstead in her home and he left. We're going to talk some more about that. So they want to say the state's going to play excerpts of the statements. You won't have the statements back with you in the jury room, but you're welcome to come back and listen to all of it. I can't play all of it because I don't have, it's over 2 hours long. I only have 2 hours to give you a closing argument, and I'm not going to do that. You won't have it back with you, but you can come listen to all of it. But yes, I'm going to play you excerpts where he tells you he did it. And they want you to reward the man because he burned her body. That's what they want you to do. They want you to give him a prize and a reward because he took her body from her home out to an orchard and had his buddy, Bo, burn him with it. That's what they want. Who's hiding stuff from you? He is.
Came back out again, maybe a couple times over the next couple of days.
I sure went back once and burned trash.
Over the same spot.
Yes.
Burn trash over her. This is why you believe in it. Trash. Trash, 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 trash. He told you on the witness stand what? I only went out there that one time. You know what he says in his statement? We went back out there again and we threw some household trash on her. Physical evidence doesn't lie, ladies and gentlemen. Trash. Household trash. He's got a lot to lose, so he's got a lot.
Well, let's talk about the close for the state. We already heard from the defense, and we heard from the defendant. Cannon Kearney is here. He's a trial attorney in New York and in Seattle. Washington up early, trial attorney Ann Bremner. Good morning to both of you. We know how this ends. Most of our viewers know how this ends, and it's shocking. Listening now, Cannon, you watch the state. They're very aggressive at the end here. Basically, you know, you got the raised tone, all of that going on. Your thoughts on this close and the trial overall in terms of the state of Georgia's case?
Well, good morning, Ted. First and foremost, I would like to give a condolences to the deceased, Ms. Greenstead. Obviously, at this point, the jury nor the public has an actual murderer for her. They have two people who essentially were accessories. So we do wish to say to her family that we hope that the killer is one day caught. Now, to answer your question, Ted, I believe that in looking at the prosecutor's closing, he actually sounded more like the defense would in these types of situations than a prosecutor. Normally, the defense wants to play to the emotions or the feelings of the jury, whereas the prosecution is pretty much straight to the point. This is the facts. This is the facts. Well, here, I don't think the facts are disputed in that Ms. Greenstead was murdered and that her body was hidden from the police or from individuals to find. The issue is now whether Mr. Ryan Duke, in his actual ability to confess, was actually being truthful. So based off of Mr. Duke's testimony, I believe that the jury found that he was credible in stating that he was under duress in this confession. I believe that he was credible to the jury in showing that he actually was in fear of Mr. Bo Dukes, and he wanted to ensure that the families did have some form of solace of actually finding the body of Ms. Greenstead. So all in all, I believe that the jury wasn't swayed by the emotional rant almost by the prosecution. I believe, as you can see, they actually went to sleep during the trial and a juror was dismissed. So I believe that at this point, it shows that the jury is one that was able to look to the facts and found that Mr. Duke actually was not the murderer.
All right, and we'll get your take right after this break. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more of the state's closing argument against Ryan Duke. Stay with us.
Your hard work pays off.
Welcome back. This morning, we're bringing you the dramatic conclusion of the Beauty Queen murder trial. This hour, we're taking you through the prosecution's closing argument. Special Assistant District Attorney Brad Rigby started his close by repeatedly pointing out and pointing at the defendant, Ryan Duke, saying he voluntarily confessed to the murder of Tara Grinstead. Let's pick it up again as he turns to the physical evidence in the case, mainly that latex glove containing Ryan Duke's DNA.
So let's talk about this confession and how it's corroborated. Let's talk about this glove. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very important for you to recall Lisa Hobgood, Crime Lab, 2005. Kind of silver hair, gray-haired lady. You remember her? The forensic biologist from 2005. As she testified to you, my first case ever of what? Touch DNA. We've done DNA with a lot of blood, a lot of semen, a lot of saliva, or sweat from a brim of a hat, but we've never done skin cell or touch DNA. Her first case she had ever worked. So, their theory, Bo Dukes, he knew to plant that glove so we could get some touch DNA off it. Doesn't make any sense. But he knew his DNA would be on it. In fact, this defendant talks about that translucent glove and how it corroborates. And guess what Bo, if he planted it, also knew? Do you remember what Ashley Hinkle told you? She was the second biologist that tested the glove in 2017-18, somewhere one of those years, the later. She said, I swabbed the inside of the glove, and it was 90% Ryan Duke's DNA. and 10% of Tara Grinstead's DNA. Consistent with Ryan having worn the inside of the glove. And if Bo just planted it, how did it get Tara's DNA on there unless that mixture of Ryan and Tara's DNA wasn't on there? Because he dropped it. It's what he used. And then you heard her say, I swabbed the outside of the glove. And do you remember what the percentages were on the outside of the glove? 50-50. 50% his and 50% Tara's. And also on the outside of that glove was someone's DNA. We don't know whose it is. I know the defense says that the state, the GBI, tried to exclude both. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm okay if you include both. Doesn't matter to me. Maybe it is Bo's DNA. I can't say that it isn't. I can't say that it is. But Bo just happened to plant this glove, the DNA right in percentages, and got Tara's DNA on the inside and the outside when we didn't even know we could get DNA in 2005. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And so while we're talking about the glove, let's talk about Jared Luke, who went over to get his dog, and let's talk about Heath Dykes. Right? They want to say that that glove had to be planted, and it had to be planted by Bo Dukes after Heath Dykes left. That's their theory. Because they would have seen it. What did Mr. Luke, a high school kid at the time, tell you? I went over there to get my dog. Is he looking for trash in somebody's yard? When you go up to somebody's house, are you looking for trash in their yard? Or you don't know. You're just going to get your dog. A high school kid going to be noticing trash in somebody's yard? It just doesn't make sense. The glove was there. He just didn't see it. Just didn't see it. Because you're not looking for trash in somebody's yard. They don't even know Tara's missing at that point. No one does. Right? This is Sunday. People are calling for her. Miss Faye is desperately calling. Heath has been calling. No one knows she's missing. No one's looking for trash. No one's looking for evidence. They want to hold a high school kid, Jared Luke, who's going to get his dog bowl, his dog accessories as he was calling it. They want to hold him to the standard of investigators, looking around her yard for evidence of why she's... That's silly, ridiculous. No high school kid is doing that. And then they want to say that Heath Dykes, he's a trained investigator, and he is. Ladies and gentlemen, Heath Dykes was concerned about one thing that night. The lady that he was having a relationship with was not calling him back. Y'all heard his desperation in his voice on those answering machine calls. In fact, he was so desperate, he drove down here to find out why she wasn't returning his calls and why she wasn't calling him back. And he told you what? What time was it? You remember? It was dark. In fact, I think he said close to midnight. So midnight, 1 a.m. on Saturday, and he says, we asked him, did you have a flashlight? No. He says, yeah, he did say, I think I would have seen it. He's not looking for, they're wanting to say he's out there searching for evidence on the ground outside. He is desperately knocking on that door, trying to get Tara to answer the door, calling her on the phone, leaving a card on the door. He's not looking outside in the yard for evidence in a case. That's not what he's there for. That glove was there. It's dark. He just didn't see it. He's not looking for trash in her yard at midnight. He's looking for her. What does Heath Dykes tell you at midnight, Saturday night, Sunday? I checked the hood of her car. It's cold to the touch. The car hadn't gone anywhere. Been right there. Cold to the touch, which means what? She hadn't been driving it. That's what that trained investigator did. the big secret? They don't like it because it makes their client guilty. So they have to come up with some other alternate theory. It must have been, like, there's not been one witness from that witness stand that ever told you that Bo planted that glove. Not one. They just throw up conjecture and speculation, hoping that that's what you'll follow. But you raised your hand and swore an oath to seek the truth. Not follow their red herrings and not follow their smoke and mirrors.
Don't listen to Ryan Duke on the stand. Listen to him when he talked to investigators and he admitted the whole thing. That's the theme of it. And they say the glove helps them. That's the state's position in this case. Trial attorney Cannon Kearney is still with us in New York, and Bremner's in Seattle. And listening to the close from the state, knowing the jury's decision, which we're going to hear in just a bit. What are your thoughts?
First, it's great to see you again, Ted, and I join in the condolences, for Tara's family. They were seeking justice. It was so delayed, and now there's no justice. But I kept thinking, like that Shakespeare line, this is like full of sound and fury, signifying nothing, because it didn't resonate with the jury. And he's just yelling and yelling and yelling, and he's full of righteous indignation. There was a book called Presumed Innocent by Scott Turow, where he said, as a prosecutor, you've got to stand up and point at the defendant. That's what you have to do, every time. And I thought of that when he talked about, he's pointing at the defendant over and over. And he's just, I guess the saying goes also, if you want people to listen, whisper. I mean, this closing to me was so over the top in terms of his tone and demeanor that at some point, I'm sure the jury tuned it out.
Cannon, what do you think?
Well, Ted, I'll just say the number one word is reasonable doubt. I believe that the prosecutor said it himself. It is the defense's job to throw up things to ensure that he places that reasonable doubt with the jurors. And here you have Bo Dukes, who's already been convicted. You have Ryan Duke, who's saying that he's only doing this to bring solace to the family. You have a glove that has 4 different individuals' DNA on it. And so I believe that the defense did their job accordingly, and they sowed the reasonable doubt that was necessary to ensure that their client is not convicted of murder.
And do you buy that the glove was planted, though, by Bo Dukes? That it seems to me there's something sketchy with the glove.
Right.
That doesn't ring true to anybody's story. And a lot of times that's the case, where everybody's story is a little skewed. Your thoughts on the glove?
Right. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like that worked in the O.J. Simpson case, I guess, with Mark Furman and the 2 gloves, one at the scene and one at the house of O.J. Simpson. The suggestion that something's planted, but there's a lot more in that defense, of course, that was successful, with the jury a long time ago. But one of the items was something's planted. They had motive on the part of Mark Furman. But when you don't have motive on the part of law enforcement or somebody else that finds a piece of evidence to plant something, that's a pretty tough sell. And I think these days, with all the forensic file shows and, all the true crime podcasts and shows, I don't know. I just don't think that kind of thing works. However, reasonable doubt was found in this case. When you have a confession without really anything more to kind of tether that confession to the evidence that's damning, that's really a tough state's case.
Mm-hmm. Still had the assistant district attorney turns his attention now to that payphone call that Ryan Duke says he did make to Tara Grinstead's home after the murder. He says, that's it. Come on, jury. That's his argument. We're going to listen to it next.
I'm Julia Janae in Orlando, Florida for the kitchen knife murder case, and this is Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Welcome back. We're bringing you the final moments of the trial. Georgia versus Ryan Duke. Duke was charged with the murder of high school teacher and former beauty queen Tara Grinstead. This was one of the biggest cold cases in the country. Then the break happened in 2017 when Duke walked into the police station and confessed. Said, yes, I did it, and I'm glad I'm telling you to get this off my back. Well, then he goes to trial and says, I was lying. That was a false confession. During the state's closing argument, the prosecutor focused on the part of the confession when Duke talked about a phone call, a payphone call that he made to Grinstead's home after the murder. Let's go into the courtroom.
Let's talk about this phone call. The defense has to come up with a theory that explains that phone call because the GBI agents, Rothwell, Shadell, they all told you what? That's guilty knowledge. They hid that from everybody. So they've got to explain that phone call. So the way they come up with explaining it is he's a good Samaritan. You saw them attack the phone records when we were putting the phone. They didn't want those phone records in from North Coast Pay, the payphone. They objected to those documents going into evidence. Who's trying to hide something from you? And then their client gets up on the stand and admits it, that he made it. Who's hiding stuff from you? Well, where's the smoke and mirrors? I'm sorry, Ms. Hart. Go ahead.
So you said you went to, what kind of phone did you use?
It was a payphone.
You remember which store it was?
The T&G now.
The one right next to Pex?
Yes, sir.
So you went to the payphone there, you said?
Yes, sir.
And how did you call the house? What did you do?
I dialed 411 to get the number to put the answer and verify.
You were hoping that she would answer the phone, and when she did, you knew something.
Yes, sir.
What did you do to clean up? You said you wore
The phone records. Why do you believe his statement, his videotape confession? Because the physical evidence corroborates it. Physical evidence doesn't lie to you. People will lie to you, no doubt. But physical evidence that corroborates it, just like you've got evidence corroborating a struggle in the room, doesn't have to be, but it does. Phone records corroborate that phone call. On her caller ID in the North Coast pay records. And he's the one in that statement that volunteers, I made a call. He asked him about phone calls. He does. Agent Shadell does. But then, you know what he says? I made a call from a payphone. Not from Agent Shadell. Yeah, the Swanee Swifty. Just right here by our house. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about that just for a second. You're living in Fitzgerald by the hospital in a trailer. You're not going to dial from your home phone to check on Miss Grinstead? What about a payphone in Fitzgerald? You're going to drive 10 miles to Osceola to make a call from a payphone? Just to return her purse. You don't go to the police and say, Miss Grinstead's purse, I found it, needs to get it returned to her. You don't go to the police in Fitzgerald and say that. You don't go to the sheriff's office in Ben Hill County and say, I've got Miss Grinstead's purse, just wanted to get it returned to her. Didn't know if something happened to her, y'all go check on it. Don't go to the Osceola Police Department when you get down here. You don't go to the Irving County Sheriff's Office. You go to a payphone. Don't call from your home phone. You drive back down to the scene of the crime. And ladies and gentlemen, he tells you in his statement that he calls her to, he told you on the witness stand he called her to check on her. He tells you in his statement he called because, remember what he said? No cops were around. Yeah, it's church time in Osceola. People are going back and forth to church. He's calling to make, to disguise who's calling. Because 411 comes up payphone. So if he called from his home phone, it's his number that comes up. Or his relative. And he's calling to make sure nobody's found her body yet. That there aren't police already there. He doesn't leave a message. Miss Grinstead, I have your purse. Found it. Wanted to check on you, make sure you're okay. hangs up.
Coming up, the state finishes up its closing argument, highlighting the evidence they say proves it had to be Ryan Duke, not Bo, who killed Tara Grinstead. Welcome back. This morning, we're showing the closing arguments in the Beauty Queen murder trial. The defense said in their closings that they believe that Bo Dukes, not Ryan, should be on trial for Tara Grinstead's murder, and that Duke confessed under duress. It was a false confession. The defense also claimed that the quality of the physical evidence in the case was poor or non-existent. The prosecution addressed those points as they wrapped up their closing argument, claiming that there was more than enough evidence to put Ryan Duke away.
And ladies and gentlemen, if Bo had done this, Bo doesn't need Ryan's help. It's Bo's truck, Bo's orchard. Ryan needs Bo's help. He didn't have a vehicle to carry her body. He had to get Bo's. He put her out on Bo's family's property. He needed Bo's help. Ladies and gentlemen, they put in a conviction for Bo Dukes for stealing from the military, and he did. He's convicted of it. I'm never going to tell you he's not a thief and not a good person and not a liar. He is. Convicted of it. Best friend, though, is Ryan Duke. What did Ryan tell you? Ryan didn't steal from the military. He stole from his own brother. Remember what he told you? I forged some checks on my brother. Don't you think if he just asked his brother, hey, can I have $50? He'd have given him $50? Of course his brother would. Stephen Dukes is a good person. But he stole from it. You want to talk about character? That's character. Bo steals, Ryan steals. I can tell you, they want to talk about character evidence. Everybody said Ryan was peaceable and Ryan's truthful. They put in some witnesses to say he had good character, that they knew him back in high school. Not really around this time, but fair enough. They put the evidence in. There's a man that would have had 11 character witnesses walk down here. They come up on the witness stand and raise their hand and say, this man is truthful and honest. He wouldn't do anything. He's a person of good character. We trusted him. We would trust him with our money. In fact, we do trust him with our money. And they would have all testified to his good character. But that same person is the one that betrayed with a kiss. In the garden. All of the disciples would have said, not Judas, as he was the thief. They didn't know that about his character. Right? They were even asking at the upper room, who would do this? Because sometimes people hide who they are. Just like he did. Bo was just open about his deviance. But his best friend just hides it better. You all know people like that. They go to church and they're one way, and they're out of church, they're something else. They just hide it a little better than others. Bo's just out front with who he is. He confessed his DNA. We talked about that on the glove. 90%, 10% on the inside, 50-50 on the outside. We had that in 2000. We had his DNA in 2005, ladies and gentlemen. Just didn't have it matched to him at that point. But we had an unknown male contributor's DNA in 2005, and when we tested it in 2015, 17, 18, it's his. And the guilty knowledge we kept back on is not only did we have the unknown male's DNA, we had Tara's on it as well. which shows you that Ryan Duke came in contact with Tara Grinstead. And it had to be before they burned the body. That's why that glove corroborates. It is physical evidence doesn't lie to you. People will lie to you every day. Physical evidence does not. He confessed to making that phone call. Palm print on the glove. He confessed when he took them to the orchard. In fact, you'll remember in that video, the GBI tent is already set up of where they're digging at the first location, as Todd Crosby told you about it, and he even walks by it. He says, no, it's not over there, it's going to be on over here. If he was just going to agree with them where it was and what was done, what's he going to do? Just agree with where they're already at. No, that's it. But no, he shows them and Jason at one point says, well, we'll just follow you. And he's not cognizant because he's taken Vicodin, Percocet, marijuana, all of these drugs, and he's out there walking in briars and everything else in slide shoes. In fact, even has the presence of mind to know that his pants are falling down and wants to pick him up because he doesn't like saggy pants. But he's blitzed out of his mind on all these drugs. Doing that. That's what they want you to believe. And you had two agents, Agent Shadell and Agent Holland, tell you he exhibited no signs of impairment. And you saw him on video. Doesn't slur his speech or unresponsive to questions. Sometimes he says he doesn't know. But he doesn't make up a crazy story. It doesn't fit with the question asked. In fact, he corrects Agent Shadell according to the testimony of the GBI inspector yesterday. We corrected him 21 times. In that statement. They put Dr. Chalitsky up to say that he was blitzed out of his mind. And then he gets up there and tells you, after all that defense and theory, that, oh, the statement, you can't believe it because he was on so many drugs. And Miss Merchant even told you in her closing statement, we don't even really know how many drugs he was on or what he was on or if he took a pain pill. We don't even know because he lies. He says on his statement, a pain pill this morning, and it's the afternoon when the interview goes. He says, a pain pill. He's already told you he's a drug addict, so his tolerance is going to be high. And he says, I'm fully cognitive. He confessed to you in his handwriting. He confessed to you with his actions of how showing you don't make that up if you didn't do it.
It's hard to get forward with the slide,
I mean, honestly, when you cremate a body, you know that you're the one responsible for that.
I killed her. I mean, it's my fault. She's gone. I have no illusions about that.
I have no illusions about that. His words, his mouth, his confession. This is why you know he's guilty.
That was it. The end. Trial attorneys Ken and Kearney and Ann Bremner are still with us. Ken is in New York, Ann's in Seattle. Ann, to you first on this one, the close, a lot of yelling, especially at the beginning there, and that was sort of the mantra. And that's a style. That's a style we see in courtrooms a lot, where you have sort of this manufactured anger that sometimes works. But your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes works, but there has to be some kind of cadence and kind of some relief from the yelling. You know, like he needed to probably tone it down for parts of his closing and then ramp it back up if that was going to be the style he chose. Because otherwise, it's just kind of a barrage and over the top. And sometimes I think when you give a closing like that, you can really lose a jury because you're like, you know, why is he trying so hard? I think prosecutors need to be reasonable. I've been a prosecutor. You need to just the facts, ma'am. I mean, that's really what you're doing as a prosecutor. You're there as representative of the people, and you're putting forth a case in a logical sequence of testimony and evidence. And I think, you know, what he's trying to say is witnesses can and do lie. They can be mistaken, but evidence never lies. And we have this evidence. And clearly there's no evidence here. I think he should have emphasized that this is a false confession. He started down that path, but I think he had a lot to work with on that. I mean, why would this man confess to this horrible cold case murder with this kind of detail if he didn't do it? And really to get that confession framed with a good argument as to why it should be believed by this jury.
And Cannon, there wasn't a lot of acknowledgement that Ryan Duke did an excellent job on the stand. I mean, the alternative close could have been, hey, yeah, he seemed convincing, but let's go back and let's look at it. Look at the tape again. He's also convincing there. You do have the glove. You've got the phone call. There's enough there. And frankly, before this case started, I think a lot of people thought, oh, he's going down. They do have this confession. They do have the glove. They do have the phone call. Your thoughts in terms of the ammunition that the state of Georgia had, there was enough there, was there not, to get a conviction?
Ted, I definitely believe that there was enough there to get a conviction. In this type of case, it comes down solely to credibility of the witness. And here, the jury could have said, you lied. You're saying that you lied in the confession. You're saying that you lied about your relationship with Mr. Dukes, all of these different things. So we believe that you're lying now. I think it comes down to actually the storytelling. I think it comes down to something as simple as Mr. Duke looking like Ben Affleck in Argo when he did the confession, and now he's looking like a young Doogie Howser in front of the court. So all of these different things, they play into what the jury actually sees, and I believe that is the main reason why today that Mr. Duke was not convicted of murder.
Yeah, big appearances, big difference, you know, from caveman to a businessman, and the jurors were there, and something, the way he did it, obviously he connected. We need to take a break here. Coming up, the verdict. It's a shocker. We're going to play it for you and react to it. Plus, we've got our Matt Johnson down live in Ocilla. He's got reaction from Georgia. That's next. Stay with us.